Hi, welcome to We Are Cosmic Nature, the podcast. My name is Kelsey, and thank you for landing here. Today, I'm going to be talking about the eclipses of October. This is a potent, powerful time in astrology. Eclipses are a pretty big deal. They're kind of like super exaggerated new and full moons. So the energy is just heightened and things can change in big ways or suddenly, and also perhaps depending on where they fall in your chart. It could be big things that are shifting, or it could be stuff that's happening more in the energetic field. So we're going to talk about that. And if this is your first time landing on this podcast, thank you. Welcome. I am excited to connect with you through the airwaves, through the internet waves, however you want to call it. This podcast is a place where I share astrological wisdom and insights, conversations, tips, tools, resources to help you to live a happier, healthier, more fulfilled life as a cosmic being here on Earth. So I'm happy to have you here. And if you're watching on the YouTubes, hello, you can see my face. So this is going to be the season finale episode. I launched this podcast January 1st of 2023. It's not my first podcast, but it is one that, I just really felt inspired to do as a creative project to show up and embody what it is I talk about, which is really, following your intuition, following your the energy that lights you up. And speaking and sort of this long form content does light me up to share. And I receive a lot of really great feedback from listeners from all over the world, which is so cool. And it encourages me to keep going. With that being said, I am on the countdown now, really, to welcoming in my child, my first child. So we're gonna pause it here for at least a few months. I do envision things coming back in the new year, maybe even January. But again, I will trust my intuition there and see how I feel, see how life is with a newborn. And I don't want to put any pressure on myself. But I do have a lot of already episodes that are lined up and people and conversations to record with. So there is people and tips and tools and all good things coming your way. Exactly when, I just can't say for sure. So let's talk about these eclipses. If you're listening to this in the first week of October, you're getting a little bit of an insight into what's coming ahead. If you're already into October or later, no worries. The messages that are presented here are here for you. So it doesn't really matter if you have listened to this and you're resonating, but the new moon eclipse already happened, a week or two ago. As long as you are receiving some sort of resonance with the message, that's all that matters here, right? So on October 14th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Libra. And that means that we are in Libra season. The sun is in Libra. And the moon, joins Libra, joins the sun at 21 degrees of Libra. Now, there are a few layers to consider when you think about where this is falling. One, in your chart, but two, in the actual sign of Libra. So 21 degrees. 21 degrees is the third decan of Libra. So each sign is actually can be divided into thirds, and honestly, there's even layers deeper. But the third decan is ruled by Mercury. And I find that interesting because Mercury is widely conjunct this new moon eclipse. It's actually falling in the second decan, but it feels like Mercury has a part to play in this new moon eclipse. We also have the South Node traveling through Libra as well, and that is bringing up, over the course of a couple of years anyway, it brings up things of the past, or I don't want to say shadow aspects, but just things that need to be acknowledged and uncovered. So it feels like maybe there's some information coming up at this new moon eclipse that perhaps could be addressed or is coming to your attention for clarity. So I also like to point out that I also like to pull a card. Excuse me. We're like rocking like end of pregnancy. My brain is just like I'm all floating all over the place. I pull a card as well to kind of dive deeper into the energy. I pull a tarot card to dive deeper into the energy of this particular lunation or any lunation that I'm speaking about. And I pulled the Devil card, and there's so many layers here. Okay. So essentially it feels like we are new moon. Okay. New moon eclipse is a new moon either way brings us sort of internal to become aware, to connect with ourself. The sun and the moon are coming together. So this is very personal. We're connecting within, we're acknowledging energy, emotions, situations when it comes to ourselves and our experience from the inside out. And the South Node is like really, again, bringing us even deeper into that, like stuff from the past, like we're clearing karma. Mercury, it could be mental patterns. So when the Devil card comes up, this could be like limiting beliefs, like shadowy aspects, right? The Devil sounds, it doesn't have a great symbol in our culture. So it kind of represents through the lens of tarot, like, yeah, maybe some stuff that we need to address about ourselves that's not our best, like, pieces of ourselves, that maybe that we don't acknowledge, or we shove to the side, or we shove under the surface, or we things like limiting beliefs and maybe aspects of yourself where you're falling victim or you're feeling unworthy. And I say that because we're in Libra. So Libra really values fairness and balance and equality and peace and harmony. And when we have all of this energy at play, I think maybe we're becoming aware of aspects of ourselves that, like, where we're putting our own selves out of harmony. You know what I mean? Where we're rocking our own boat and we're kicking ourselves in the foot, or however that saying goes. Like, we are not we're not owning it. We're not owning up to our truth, our power, our sovereignty, our empowerment, our beauty. And I say beauty because Libra is represented by the planet Venus, which represents beauty and harmony and joy and all these things, right? So where are you not feeling beautiful and abundant and worthy of these things that you desire? Like, if I asked you, what does your highest self look like, feel like, be like? Who is that person, and why, and what is keeping you back from embodying that? So there's a lot of words I was trying to like really suss out there, but there's just so many layers to this, like so many planets at play. I'm just trying to piece together this information. So, yeah, I feel like we could be becoming aware at this time, whether it is situations that we're actually experiencing that are making us feel disempowered, or it's just, let's do it's like things that are happening within ourselves, within our own emotions and our minds, that is then reflected on the external. So it's a good time to just check in. What are my thoughts? What are my what are my thought processes? What are my beliefs about myself? And how is that being reflected on the outside? And honestly, because our life experience starts with our perception and our experience on the inside. So like we create our own reality is essentially where I'm getting at. Like it starts with you. So if there's anything that feels not in harmony at this time, it's just a really good like self-check. I'm not saying it's quote unquote all on you, it's all your fault, like blah blah blah, but it's like this is a new moon solar eclipse. Like it's time to check in with yourself. And also, yeah, what maybe because Libra also can be representative of relationships. So what relationships, what connections, commitments do you have in your life that are also not harmonizing? And the eclipse might just honestly wipe them out of your life, wipe the situation or the person or the thing out of your life. But I do believe that there is I need to step up to the plate energy. It's not like just like it's going to happen to you. It might also be that, the universe is calling you to action as well. Part of the reason I say that is some of the power planets during this eclipse include Mars in Scorpio at 1 degree, and it is trine to Saturn at 0.52 of Pisces. So Mars is the planet of action, and it is in Scorpio, and it's like, okay, action that is in alignment with your power, because Mars in Scorpio can be very feisty. And when it's making a harmonious aspect to Saturn, it's like we want to really take responsibility for our actions, because our actions are going to, they could manifest quite powerfully. Saturn in Pisces is like things can really just go. Like this is super manifesty power. I did a whole podcast episode on Saturn in Pisces. It's a 3-year transit. You can go back and listen to it. So it's just like really taking into consideration how powerful your actions are right now. So if you're going to act out of integrity, act in your power, act in your truth. There's no hiding with Mars and Scorpio. So that's a pretty dynamic aspect in the planets right now, is like, okay, so like the eclipse is happening, but just be aware that, the changes and commitments you make can really just like energy is moving quickly and it can flourish. Mars and Scorpio could also mean that there's some actions behind the scenes. Like maybe these are just your own personal commitments and actions to yourself and in your own being, in your own energy, in your own emotions. But yeah, just to note, like, I wouldn't get too impulsive on anything, but right, like we're really dancing here. I'm like, okay, assess, pause, act, trust your intuition. At the end of the day, like there's this very, like Mars and Scorpio, intuition is heightened. Trust your intuition. Ride these waves. And and I would say, think about, who is my highest self? How are they showing up? And what actions would they take? And then give it a go and see how things manifest. You'll get the feedback pretty quick, I think. So that is the new moon solar eclipse. So there's so much more to it, of course. I always say that, but I can't talk for like hours and hours and hours. But I would look at 21 degrees of Libra in your chart. What house is that? What area of your life is being affected? I shared briefly on my last episode that for me, this is happening in my first house, and this is the house of self, identity. And yeah, my identity is completely changing. At least I'm anticipating it, kind of like I'm stepping into motherhood. That's a whole new self that's coming out. So that is an example of a eclipsey moment. I can't really change the momentum of that. And it's exciting. But where are you experiencing some big changes? Now, again, your chart may have more energy going on in other areas that are like maybe the Scorpio Pisces Mars Saturn energy is actually way more prominent than, say, a new moon solar eclipse in Libra, but it's all working together. So 21 degrees, what house is that? There's 12 houses in the zodiac. If you don't know, the link in the below somewhere in the pod notes or on YouTube, I have a free guide on how to read your birth chart. And I would take a look because it's kind of just curious. I mean, you can look, think about your life, see how things pan out, or just like go through October, see how things went, and then reflect. That's honestly how I learn. I just like live my life. And then I look back. Really, a lot of the astrology learning that I did was by looking back on things and being like, oh, wow, that happened. And that was because, this planet moved through that house. So take a look. Definitely send me a message. Let me know what happened, what manifested, what insights, information, clarity you received. And yeah, and I really look forward to hearing about that. So I'll switch gears and we'll talk about the full moon lunar eclipse that is coming up. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. I love these eclipses. Both of them are ruled by Venus. I didn't actually say that earlier, but both Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus. Venus has been a big player this year, a big theme because of one, it's a 7-year, okay, in numerology, and this is attributed to the planet Venus. It's about money and prosperity and abundance. And we also had a Venus retrograde in Leo. Venus spent quite a lot of the year in Leo, really connecting us to our heart. It's such a beautiful energy. And then to have eclipses, like Venus, okay? Venus is really about, just like connect to your pleasure, connect to your joy, connect to what lights you up. Let's step into abundance. Let's thrive. Like I am hyped. I also just had a cacao. So talk about heart opening, Venus energy. Here we go. The feminine, so much good stuff. And just wait, okay? We still have 2023. We're heading into an 8-year. That is elevated energy. That is infinite potential. And the astrology of like 2024, 25, 26, and oh man, 2032. I don't even think I've dropped any hints on what's happening in 2032, but there's lots. Okay, we're in a time. So let's focus on this full moon lunar eclipse. So this is happening on October 28th at 5 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio. So where is that in your chart? What is Taurus and Scorpio? What houses do they represent? Now, a full moon, we are familiar with full moons, probably. They are illuminating, they are clarifying, they are releasing, they bring things out to be seen, right? So new moon is often more internal, and then a full moon is like things are happening. And honestly, I think we all experience this energy differently. It really depends on you, your chart, and also like what moon were you born on? Have you ever thought about that? That is fun to dive into. If you're born on like a first quarter or waxing gibbous, or I was a first quarter, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. And I am surrounded by waxing gibbuses. Like all of my family, friends, everyone around me is a waxing gibbous. And then I'm just like rocking this first quarter. Anyways, so full moon is I find I'm quite affected by the full moon. Personally, I just things just seem extra around me. And it's because it's like, if we're often outwardly focused, I do feel that we could all use a little bit more practice connecting to our internal world and interpreting it and understanding it. But a full moon, it's like, it feels obvious, right? Things are out and about in our lives. So it's so Canadian for me to say that. So we've got a 5-degree full moon lunar eclipse. Okay. At the same time of this lunar eclipse, Mercury and Mars are conjunct in Scorpio, opposite Jupiter. Like, if you look at the chart, it's like full moon, and then these planets are all speaking. And I'm just like, okay. So intuition feels important to bring up here. Your thoughts, your actions, your emotions, and your intuition are coming together. And there might be something perhaps in the physical world that is manifested or manifesting that is really showing you what's happening inside. So we talked a little bit about that with the new moon eclipse. Like, maybe there's like the limiting beliefs, feelings of like, what makes you feel insecure or unworthy, or like checking in right at that new moon eclipse on the 14th. What feels like is out of harmony, is out of balance. Now, at this new moon eclipse, I think it's really pulling us, or full moon eclipse on the 28th, I feel like it's pulling us even deeper into ourselves and into our souls. And it's like we're being called to action. And it's like time we our power. Okay. And I pulled a card. I pulled the King of Swords. And a couple notes on that is like intellectual power. You're able to achieve anything, conviction, truth, like owning it. Like, it really feels like these eclipses are working together. So we got some insight and clarity and understanding at that new moon eclipse. And this full moon is like, if you didn't understand then, you're going to understand now. And it's really time to step into your power and own your power and own your worth. Like, I feel even more energy and fired up as I speak about this moon. I think it's because that's what this is like. This is about like finding your power somewhere deep in there and just owning it. Like, Scorpio is like a no fucks given kind of energy. And and I'm even receiving lessons from this, just looking at it and knowing my own chart, being a Scorpio myself. And I'm like, this is time to not be afraid of what it is you can achieve. And you can achieve anything. And I think so many of us hide from our own power, and we forget that life is like, I kind of want to say a game. Like this is just life. Like it doesn't have to be so scary. Our fears are our own makeup and perception within our own minds, right? So it's like face your fears head on here and just like go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, so there could be some fears that come up at this time. I think this full moon, like of like, okay, there's something big. I'm moving forward, but and really just acknowledging those fears. Yeah, I feel like face your fear feels really appropriate as I look at this moon. And it's so funny, right? It's like, oh, October is such a fun month. Like we're heading into quote unquote spooky season. It's the 28th. Like Halloween is like a couple days after this. So it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like let's face our fears and our own inner demons, right? That devil card from that new moon eclipse. Like I feel like these lunations are really working together. So October can be a very transformative month for a lot of us. Find your inner resources and call in the support that you deserve, need, and be the conductor of your own life experience. You get to choose. And yeah, I'm really eager to see how this turns out. Eclipse season, October. Oh, like even where I live, September has been, well, I'm recording this in October, I've already forgotten, but September is just like fully summer energy still. Like, yeah, it was, back to school and whatever, but like it was pretty much just summer. And even today is on this recording, it's very summery, but I know that by the end of October, the days are much shorter, it's colder, it's darker. And it's a very transformative month on the outside. So what's also happening on the inside, and how can we head into this new season of fall and or spring, depends where you are, and just embrace these changes within yourself, within your mind, this deepening connection to your intuition. And yeah, that feels very good to wrap it up there. If you have any questions though, definitely let me know. I'll see about checking my phone and my messages on Instagram. We're in a limbo period here, so I don't know. I don't know when it'll be a no phone zone. Could be tonight, it could be in a couple weeks, so we'll see. But thank you so much for listening. I look forward to reconnecting with you again in the new year for the podcast. I already have people lined up and really cool conversations that are going to be valuable. So we'll keep you posted. This is such an interesting time to be alive for myself personally. And I hope to see some breakthrough, beautiful transformations happening for you in whatever area of life you're calling that in for. So sending you love. We'll speak soon, and happy eclipse season.